Good morning, everyone. I would like to extend a warm welcome to the Housing Community Development Department's Contract Compliance Virtual Technical Assistance Training for Contractors. I trust that you all are looking forward to the presentations this morning. But before we begin, please let me know in the chat box if you are experiencing any issues with audio or visual aspects of my presentation. And I would just like to go over a few housekeeping items. All participants, we are requesting that you do remain on mute during our presentations. And please note that today's sessions will be recorded for training purposes. I am Lakeisha Tates, the Administration Manager, and I will be leading the Virtual Technical Assistance Training for Pre-Award Services. We sincerely appreciate your presentation in this morning's online training session. If you have any questions, please feel free to submit them in the chat box, and I will address them at the conclusion of my presentation. To enhance your experience, we will be gathering feedback on our presentation. So at the end of each presentation, a link to a survey will be shared in the chat box for your convenience. Without further ado, we'll get started. Okay. Our division contact information is Kanisha London is our Deputy Director of Housing Community Development Department, and Crystal Boyce is Division Manager for Contract Compliance. She oversees the professionals that administers the City of Houston's Pay or Play and the Minority Women Small Business Enterprise Program. Can you hear me now, Ms. Walters?
I know I hear you, Keisha, and it's no static or anything on this end.
Okay. If not, you might have to log out and then log back in to see if the audio is a little better for you. Okay. So so today technical assistance training for pre-award services will be from 8:30 to 9:20. And we'll get started. I am Lakeisha Tates, the Administration Manager for Pre-Award Service. Some of you who may have the pleasure of working with me will know that I am deeply committed to contract compliance and dedicated to ensuring that representatives have a comprehensive understanding of the program rules and compliance expectations related to housing community development projects. Should you have any questions or concerns about compliance requirements for pre-award services, please feel free to reach out to me via email or phone number, and I will put my contact information in the chat box. So we'll just get started. Some of you who may not be acquainted with pre-award services or know exactly what do pre-award services do. Pre-award services was established as a compliance foundation at the initial stage of project by thoroughly reviewing your solicitation language, ensuring that your contract documents adhere to compliance standards, and evaluating and approving necessary compliance documents such as participation plans for MWBE and pre-award documents for pay or play program as well. This process enhances the performance and reduce risk associated on our HCD projects. I will serve as the point of contact for an owner developer, a prime contractor, and or general contractor to ensure that the compliance is achieved. I will be proactive, progressive, and continue to ensure that from the initial stage, the project meets the compliance requirements. My approach will ensure that all of the parties involved are very knowledgeable about and capable of implementing program requirements before work starts. And some of the benefits for engaging and having pre-award services on HCD projects is that we offer a significant advantage by providing the contracting parties with comprehensive guidance on our relevant program requirements. Thereby, we're minimizing the risk of project delays and ensuring that your compliance is in compliance before the project actually starts. For instance, upon notification that an owner developer or prime contractor has been awarded a project, You will receive an email providing you with outlining the guidance and the compliance expectations related to the programs that we minister, which is the MWSBE and Pay or Play. Additionally, pre-award services, we organize an informational meeting. So the time that an awardee owner, developer has been awarded, I'll set up an informational meeting with them. I will review the rules and compliance requirements associated for HCD projects to ensure that before you go and procure a prime contractor or a general contractor, you are aware of what will be the relevant compliance requirements you would have to adhere to, as well as that prime contractor or general contractor. We also request cost allocations on our projects. The cost allocation just details the use of funds, offering a clear breakdown to the contracting party to ensure the project activities will have to adhere to the City of Houston's MWSBE and pay or play requirements. Furthermore, pre-award services, we facilitate contracting and employment opportunities by requiring the developer or the prime contractor or general contractor to complete an EBIT announcement. Those announcements are distributed to local businesses um, such as the MWSBE to help meet some of those MWSBE goals and compliance requirements. So this section of the pre-award presentation, I will provide you the pre-award documents that must be submitted on behalf of the developer and or general contractor or prime contractor before activities can proceed on a HCD project that is subject to MWSBE or pay or play requirements. In this segment of the pre-award presentation, I will present the pre-award documents that needs to be submitted by the developer and or general contractor prior to any activities being recommended to proceed. Some of you who are very familiar with the MWSBE program, you will know that the City of Houston had a policy change. Currently, the city will allow MWBE primes to meet advertised goals by self-performing up to 50% of your total contract goal. So if you're a developer, you procure a prime contractor, general contractor. If they are certified as a MWBE, they are allowed to self-perform up to 50% of the total contract goal. So if you're submitting a participation plan, you want to keep in mind the new policy change. So if you have a certified prime contractor or general contractor that is certified as an MWBE, they will be allowed to choose which goal they would like to receive credit for on the construction or professional service projects. They would have to choose M or W. So once they choose that goal participation, then it will be capped at the proposed percentage or the approved goal, whichever one is lower. So currently, housing community development, we utilize categorical goals on our construction related projects that is for our multifamily awards, public facilities, and single family. The categorical goal for multifamily is a 38% goal, and the breakdown is 30% MBE and 8% WBE. On our public facility projects, we have a 35% goal. 26 is MBE and 9% is WBE. And on our single family projects, we have a 29% goal, 21% is MBE, and 8% is WBE. Now, as I said, the developer and or general contractor will be responsible for adhering to the MWSBE requirements, which requires you to submit an MWSB participation plan with signed letters of intent to meet whatever goal that has been established on your project, right? So we're looking for you to complete the 470, which is known as the MWSBE participation plan. Documents 471 and 472 will be required if your participation plan does not meet whatever approved goal was listed in your advertisement, your NOFA or whatever, then you would have to submit 3 documents, 470, 471, and 472. You want to keep in mind when you're completing your MWSB participation plan, you want to make sure that those firms are currently certified with the City of Houston Office of Business Opportunity. Being certified with this department will only be for you to use the goal toward to achieving your whatever your approved goal is. So you want to make sure that you do your due diligence and ensure that those certified subcontractors or suppliers are certified with the City of Houston Office of Business Opportunity. So ways of achieving your goal is you want to make sure that the MBE and the WBE goals are separate subcontracting goals that must be met individually. You want to make sure any access of an MBE or WBE goal cannot be used to meet a deficit MBE or WBE goal. Meaning, if your goal, your participation goal is 23% MBE and you get 25%, but your WBE goal is 7 and you only get 5, you cannot use that extra 2% of MBE to go toward the WBE. You must meet both goals. You are still allowed to substitute 4% of SBE to meet the MBE and or WBE goals, but both cannot get 4% each. If you are a certified MBE or WBE prime, you can self-perform 50%, and then you'll just choose will you self-perform under MBE or WBE. Then once a firm is certified as an MWSBE firm, we count the total dollars of the subcontract awarded to the MWSBE firm toward you meeting your goal. Right? So this is very important. So we have a lot of subcontractors that are certified that like to use lower tier subs. We will only count the total dollars that we've paid to you, the certified MWSBE firm, toward the goal. Any lower tier subs that your certified firms are using, those dollars will not be counted towards your MWSBE participation plan. Only the dollars made toward the certified MWSBE firm listed for gold credit on your initial participation plan. You want to make sure that only the City of Houston certified firms are used to meet the MBE or WBE goal. I encourage you to visit the City of Houston Office of Business Opportunity website at www.houstonCX.gov/OBO. Click on a directory link to search a City of Houston certified vendor list that has over 5,000 certified firms to help you meet any MWSBE goal on the Housing Community Development Department's projects. You want to make sure that your participation plan is completely filled out and signed, and that your participation plan is accompanied with signed letters of intent. So for every certified subcontractor or supplier you list on your MWSBE participation plan, you are required to have signed letters of intent for all of those certified firms or suppliers listed on the participation plan. So you're either going to turn in one document if you meet your contract goal, which is document 470. And if you're unable to meet the goal and you have good faith efforts, we were looking for you to turn in the 470, 471, and 472. So this is just what a copy of our MWSBE participation plan looks like that is referenced to as document 470. This form captures the MWB participation that the contractor commits to achieve for the project. It helps me determine whether the contractor actually has a plan to meet the goal. So, you want to make sure whatever your city advertised contract goal is, that you put what the MBE is, what the WBE is, and then you want to make sure that you do your due diligence. You look in the certified City of Houston Office of Business Opportunity online directory, look up those certified subcontractors and suppliers profile, include the NAICS code and the description of work that they will be providing on your project, and you want to determine if they're going to provide service or they're going to be a supplier, and that you notate what certification type they're going to meet. They have to meet the MWBE, the MBE, the WBE, or the SBE. Some of the subcontractors and suppliers that are certified are certified in all three categories. However, you're only required to list one certification type for that certified subcontractor or supplier to help you meet the goal. So this is document 471. 471 will be required if your MWSB participation plan does not meet the advertised goal, and you have good faith efforts, then you will definitely fill out document 471. It would allow the contractor to document what good faith efforts you met to for the advertised goal, and it will allow the administrative department to see what efforts made that you made to find MWSBE firms. You want to make sure that this document is completed entirely and that you're including all of the information. Now, keep in mind when it comes to MWSB participation plans that fail to meet the advertised goal, or you want to include good faith efforts to demonstrate why you were unable to meet the advertised goal, those participation plans and good faith efforts are evaluated by the City of Houston Office of Business Opportunity. So it's very imperative that when you submit a participation plan that it actually meets the goal. If the plan does not meet it, you will be required to complete these three forms. And however, I would have to forward those three forms over to the Office of Business Opportunity because they evaluate participation plans that does not meet the goals, and they evaluate any participation plans where the contractor is submitting good faith efforts. Now, keep in mind when your participation plan has to be forwarded over, that will delay the project with moving forward. So you just want to make sure that when you're completing your participation plan that it meets the minimum goal requirements. This is the third document that I reference, which is document 472. This is the contractor deviation goal request. This document explains two things. Why was the contractor unable to meet the advertised MWBE goals, and what good faith efforts the contractor made that was not captured on the 471, and it allows you to provide additional justification. So for instance, if your goal was 34% and you were able to only get 30%, then you would document that on this 472 and you will give justification on why you were unable to meet the 34% goal. Now, here's a copy of the MWSBE letter of intent. This letter of intent should be accompanied with your MWSB participation plan, and it should be completed entirely. So at the top of it, you want to put the date, you want to put your project name and number. The bid amount will be provided to you because that bid amount is going to be the total amount that your approved MWSBE goal will be based on. So you will have that bid amount there, you will have your goal there, and then if you're the prime contractor, you'll put your information there. And then where it says MWSBE subcontractor, you will put that firm's name where it says MWSBE subcontractor. You want to make sure that this letter of intent is signed and dated by you, the prime contractor or general contractor, and any certified subcontractor or supplier you list for gold credit on your participation plan. If you submit a participation plan without this letter of intent, I will not evaluate your participation plan until a letter of intent is accompanied with your MWSBE participation plan. Good morning. So this is just a copy of what an MWSBE participation plan looks like. It's going to capture what is your advertised contract goal. It's going to capture the NAICS codes, the description of work, the percentage that you're going to use for that certified subcontractor or supplier, and it's also going to capture the certification type that you're going to meet the goal with, whether it's the MBE, WBE, or SBE. So you want to make sure all of this information is completed, that you list the certified firm's name, address, contact, and phone number information. At the bottom where it says bidder's participation plan total, you want to make sure that all of the percentages that you listed on your participation plan that you have it total. Like, so for whatever participation plan you listed for MBE, on this plan, it has 19%. So I'm looking for 19% to be listed under your bidder's participation plan total. For WBE, it has 11. I'm looking for 11% to be listed under WBE, and then you're substituting SBE for 4%. I'm looking for the 4% to be listed under SBE. You want to make sure you have your company's name, phone number, signature. You print the name, date, and email. This is how a completed participation plan should look like. When I'm calculating and assessing your MWSB participation plan, I'm looking to see what was your advertised goals. So on this specific example, the advertised goals was 23% MBE and 11% WBE. Remember, MBE and WBE are two separate goals that must be met individually. So the contractor proposed participation plan listed MBE at 19%, but they have SBE for 4%. So they want that 4% SBE to go toward the 19%. So I'm going to take the 19% and add the 4% SBE substitution, which is going to give me 23% for MBE. Under the WBE, they had 11%. So I'm going to take 11% plus 23, and the overall goal is 34%. So does this participation plan meets the minimum goal requirement? Yes. So this will be a compliant MWSBE participation plan. When I'm assessing your MWSB participation plan, I'm making sure that the contractor has a 470 along with signed letters of intent for each subcontractor or supplier listed on the MWSB participation plan. I'm looking for the plan to be signed and dated. I'm looking for the plan to actually meet the minimum goal requirements. So it's very important that your plans meet the minimum goal requirements, because if you submit a participation plan that exceeds the MBE goal, exceeds the WBE goal, or exceeds the overall MWBE goal, you will be required to adhere to whatever goal is approved on your participation plan. So if your goal was 34% and you turn in a participation plan that says 38%, you will be responsible for meeting the 38% goal. So it's very imperative that when you submit these participation plans, they meet the minimum goal requirements. So if your participation plan and letters of intent are deemed responsive, then you will receive an approval email that we can proceed with project activities like scheduling a pre-construction meeting or a kickoff meeting or whatever. My processing time for MWSB participation plans and signed letters of intent is 7 to 10 business days once I receive all copies, all the pre-award documents. If the prime contractor fails to demonstrate meeting a MWSBE goal, or you have good faith efforts, then you will be notified that your plan does not meet the minimum goal requirements, and that plan will be forwarded over to the Office of Business Opportunity. Their standard processing time is 7 to 10 business days. Pre-award services is excluded in the evaluation of any non-responsive MWB participation plan. The Office of Business Opportunity will be in contact with that contractor, and they will provide pre-award services with the final recommendations regarding that MWSBE participation plan. Pre-award required documents must be reviewed and approved prior to contract compliance recommending a pre-construction meeting or notice to proceed. Hey Courtney, the PowerPoint slide will be up on our website, but if you send me an email, I can provide you a copy. So before I move to Pay or Play, I just wanted to let you know that effective March the 15th, contract compliance no longer oversee the Section 3 program requirements. So any Section 3 related inquiries should be directed to Laura Serrano and her Section 3 contract administrators. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me for clarification. I can provide you Laura's team email or contact information. So effective March the 15th, contract compliance no longer oversees Section 3. So today's presentation will only address pre-awards, MWSBE, and pay or play requirements. So we'll get into pay or play next. Pay or Play was established in July 2007 and is governed by the Executive Order 1 through 7, which the City of Houston prime contractors who contract is over 100,000, and all POP covered subcontractors valued at 200,000 are required to adhere to Pay or Play. So during the pre-award phase, I will be directly requiring that the prime contractor or general contractor provide me POP forms. So I don't need any POP forms from your subcontractors. I only need these POP forms from the prime contractor or general contractor. The forms that I will need is your POP 1. It's a pay or play acknowledgement form acknowledging that you know that this project is subject to pay or play requirements. The POP 2 is the pay or play certification of compliance for the pay or play program. which will identify how will you, the general contractor, adhere to the pay or play program requirements. The POP 3 is the pay or play program list of subcontractors. So this POP 3 form will identify everyone working on the project, whether they certified, non-certified subcontractors or suppliers. This POP 3 form, you will list everyone participating on the project. The B2G management access form is a form that will be required to be completed by whoever will be designated to complying with the pay or play program requirements for the prime contractor and or general contractor. So these pay or play documents must be submitted to my attention for review and approval prior to contract compliance, recommending to proceed with a pre-construction meeting, a kickoff meeting, or notice to proceed. So this is just what a copy of the pay or play POP 1 form looks like. The contractor acknowledges that the pay or play program and agrees to comply if you are the successful contractor. And the contractor must complete and submit the pre-award documents. So for Ms. Walters, you're asking what is pay or play? So the pay or play program is a City of Houston program that if you choose to pay, the general contractor or your subcontractor will be required to pay $1 per hour for each hour that your covered employee works on a housing community development project. Play will be that a prime contractor or subcontractor will be required to provide health care benefits that meets the City of Houston standards, meaning that 75% of your premium and 10%, 25% should be done for pay or play. Now, pay or play will be discussed. That will be the last presentation discussed. This is for the prime contractor, which these are the forms that will be required before you're allowed to stay. The POP 2 form is a certification of compliance. This form will be required by the prime contractor or general contractor. It will allow you to choose how you will participate in the program. Will you pay by providing $1 per hour for each hour of work that your covered employee works on the project, or will you play by providing health care benefits that meets the City of Houston standards, which the employer will be responsible for contributing no less than 75% of the total premium cost per covered employee per month, and the covered employee will be responsible for contributing 20% of that total premium, or you can choose both. This POP 2 form must be completed and submitted by the prime contractor or general contractor only. During this pre-award stage, I'm only requesting pre-award documents for the prime contractor or general contractor. This is the POP 3 form, which lists all contractors, whether they're certified or non-certified, subcontractors or suppliers. You are required to list them on your POP 3 form. So you will make sure that it has the subcontractor's name, or their supplier, the amount of their subcontract. If their contract is over 200,000, then you're going to indicate are they going to pay, play, or both. If they are a supplier, you will indicate that they are non-exempt. If their contract is under 200,000, you would enter that they are non-exempt. What I'm looking to ensure that all of your firms you listed on your MWSB participation plan should definitely be listed on your pay or play POP 3 form. Now, this is a copy of our B2G access form. So this form is going to allow you to be completed, and then it'll be for whoever is going to be your designated personnel that will assure that the pay or play compliance, that you have access to the B2G management system, where that is where you submit your pay or play requirements in that system. So our office has introduced a contract compliance acknowledgement form that must be submitted alongside the pre-award documents before any recommendations to proceed on any construction or project related activities. So this document acts as a confirmation of the contracting party's obligation to adhere to the relevant program requirements. So some of the items that's listed on the contract acknowledgement form is we want to ensure that certified firms and payments. So payments will only count toward participation goals only made to the certified firms. As I spoke on that earlier, you want to ensure that We only count the total dollars spent with the certified firm. So if they have any lower tier subcontractors or suppliers working for them that are non-certified, those payments will not go toward that certified MWSBE firm. You want to make sure if you want credit toward participation goals that if you have certified firms that you properly add them to your project through a deviation request, and that we will only count those dollars once that deviation request has been approved. We just want to discuss consequences for your project being non-compliant. So non-compliant may result in us holding payments, recommending that the project is terminated, or suspension of the prime contractor or developer off of the HCD project. So we also are going to require that we have a mandatory participation. So throughout any new projects that's coming out, we will require that you, the prime or general contractor, and all of your subcontractors or supplier, regardless if they're certified or non-certified, attend at least one technical assistance training during your project. Right. And we also want to encourage that you invite those subcontractors and suppliers to the pre-construction meeting and the kickoff meeting so they can have a full understanding of what's going to be required. So as of July, we will be requiring our active projects, the prime contractors and the subcontractors and suppliers to attend the technical assistance training that will be held in July. Also want to note there will be a closeout evaluation. So any project that is subject to MWSBE or pay or play requirements, we do conduct and do complete a closeout evaluation. So for MWSBE, your closeout is based on the MWSBE goal and your compliance documentation. So for a successful rating, it's very good that throughout the duration of the project, you pay attention and be mindful of where you're at with your MWSBE goal. You want to make sure that at the earliest phase of the project, you submit any deviation requests to add firms for additional credit to make sure that you meet and exceed that MWBE goal at the end of the project. You want to make sure that you, not only the prime and or the general contractor and all of your subcontractors or suppliers are submitting the compliance documentations in a timely manner because you will be rated on that portion. As well as for pay or play, we rate you on the compliance documentation and you are adhering to whatever option that you chose, whether it was pay play, you will be rated on that as well in regards to pay or play program. Last but not least, with the policy, with this acknowledgement, you will acknowledge that you understand and that you have a copy of the Executive Order 1 through 7 for pay or play, and that you have reviewed and have a copy of the City of Houston's MWSBE policy, as well as the City of Houston Good Faith Efforts policy. These policies it's very imperative that you review them and that you're very knowledgeable of what's in these policies to ensure that your project stays in compliance throughout the duration of your project. And if this project, if you was awarded, with financial assistance, then the owner developer, we will require your name and your signature and your date. If you are the general or the prime contractor, we require your name, your signature, and your date. This contract acknowledgement form will be required to be submitted along with your MWSBE participation plan, your signed letters of intent, and your pay or play documents. If a developer or a prime contractor needs to solicit it, advertise to procure a prime contractor, or a prime contractor needs to procure subcontractors, we do require that you submit that advertisement to my attention so I can review it to ensure that your solicitation includes the applicable requirements and the required documents in your solicitation. This is just a copy of if your project is subject to MWSBE gold or pay or play requirements, then this is just standard required language that should be included in your solicitation. In regards to if a developer procures his prime contractor, I do require that you send me a draft copy of your agreement so I can ensure that it has the appropriate language in regards to MWSBN pay or play, and it has the standard required documents that should be included in your contract agreement. This is just some information that regards to federal requirements that you want to make sure that your contract agreements definitely include the domestic preferences in your contract, as well as the provision of certain telecommunication technology. Those two requirements should definitely be included in your contract agreement, along with the language and documents for MWSBE and pay or play. So I'm looking for you to have your federal labor standard provision um, referenced and included in your contract agreements. I'm looking for you to have the contract compliance form packet referenced and included in your agreements. You also should have document 808, which is the City of Houston's MWSBE policy. And then you also should have your City of Houston Good Faith efforts referenced and included in your contract. So, as I said, I do require that you send me a draft copy of your contract agreement before any work, before it's executed, to ensure that the language in the documents are included. So, I'll just go over just a few red flags that I typically see when submitting these pre-award compliance documents. You just want to make sure that your letters of intent are submitted with your participation plan. You want to make sure that your certified MWSBE subcontractors or suppliers sign the letters of intent along with the general contractor and prime contractor signature. You want to make sure any certified firms that you list on your participation plan has an active certification with the City of Houston Office of Business Opportunities. So it's very important that you review that online directory and ensure that any certified subcontractor or supplier you want to list on the participation plan for Gold Credit, they are currently certified with the City of Houston Office of Business Opportunity. You want to make sure that when you submit your participation plan, make sure it meets the minimum goal requirements. As I said before, I see a lot of participation plans. The advertised goal is 34%. You submit a participation plan that says 38. When the project gets started or the end of the project, we rate you on 38% and not 34%. Because as I tell you, your participation plan, whatever goals or overall goal is approved on your participation plan, you will be required to adhere to those goals and goal listed on your participation plan. So it's just very imperative that you meet the minimum goal requirements. You want to make sure if you're substituting SBE participation plan that you're not listing more than 4%. Because like I said, this ties back into completing a participation plan and exceeds the minimum goal requirements. If you're exceeding SBE, you're exceeding WBE, you're exceeding MBE, you will be required to adhere to whatever goal. So let's just make sure that your SBE participation plan goal is no more than 4% that you're substituting. Listing MWSBE firms for gold credit without notification, that's definitely could be an issue. You want to make sure that any firm that you want to list on the MWSB participation plan, that you do your due diligence. You reach out to those certified MWSBE firms and say, hey, I'm considering, utilizing you on the project. I have a full understanding. And that's the reason why it's important that you have that signed letter of intent, because that MWSBE firm is signing that letter of intent to say, that if this prime contractor gets this project, they intend on utilizing me. So it's just very important that you give proper notification to MWSBE firm if you want to use them for gold credit. Failure to submit the pre-award documents for review and approval in a timely manner, it could definitely delay your project. So if I do not have the MWSBE participation plan with the signed letters of intent and the pay or play documents, which is POP 1, POP 2, POP 3, and your B2G access form, if you don't submit it in a timely manner, it could possibly delay your project. So you just want to be mindful. If you have a construction start date, or you have a start date on a professional services project, you want to make sure that you get those documents over to my attention in a timely manner to meet whatever deadline you want to start. Because in the event if your MWSB participation plan does not meet your MWBE goals, or you submit good faith efforts, that has to be submitted over to another department that could take a little bit more time to review and evaluate or approve. So you just want to be mindful on sending those pre-award documents. Like I said, my standard processing time is 7 to 10 business days. So if you submit a compliant MWB participation plan and then you have your pay or play documents completed and it meets requirements, then it shouldn't be no problem for us to move forward with your project activities. So frequently asked questions. So when are pre-award documents required to be submitted? So you want to make sure that you submit them in a timely manner, because without those pre-award documents being approved, I will not recommend to proceed with a pre-construction or kickoff meeting or notice to proceed. So the pre-award documents is your MWSB participation plan and signed letters of intent, along with your pay or play documents, which is the POP 1, the POP 2, the POP 3, and the B2G access form. And now we have the contractor compliance acknowledgement form. So when you submit all of those documents, they are approved, then we can move forward with recommending those activities. So you want to make sure that you submit those documents in a timely manner. Who should who should you submit those documents to? They will be submitted to me via email at lakeisha.tates@houstontx.gov. What are the next steps following submission of the pre-award documents? So as administration manager, I review the documents for completion and compliance and before recommending to proceed based on the responses of your required documents. So just make sure that your documents meet the MWSBE guidelines, requirements, goals, minimum goals, everything is completed. Make sure your pay or play documents, is completed and it shouldn't be any problems. If What if your MWSP participation plan is deemed non-responsive? What is the next step? Like I said before, your participation plan will be forwarded with documents 470, 471, and 472, and any other supporting documents over to the City of Houston Office of Business Opportunity to review your good faith efforts or cure a plan that does not meet the MWSBE goal, and they have a 7 to 10 turnaround to review it. And all of that communication regarding your MWBE participation plan or good faith efforts will be between that contractor and the Office of Business Opportunity. That office will notify me if they deem any good faith efforts acceptable or they allow you to cure your participation plan, and they'll provide the recommendations on us moving forward. No, nothing will be, so if you submit pay or play documents that meet the requirements, but your participation, MWSB participation plan didn't, we won't be able to move forward until all of the documents have been approved. What are the approved HCD categorical goals on construction related projects? So as I said, for multifamily, we have a 38% MWBE goal. The breakdown is 30% MBE, 8% WBE. On public facilities, we have a 35% MBE goal, 26% MBE, and 9% WBE. And with our single family construction related projects, we have a 29% MWBE goal, 21% MBE, and 8% WBE. So how are pre-award good faith efforts evaluated? As I say, for MWSBE, it's on a case by case, and those efforts are evaluated by the Office of Business Opportunity. But to make sure, in the event that your MWBE participation goal, you don't meet it and you feel like you have acceptable good faith efforts, you always want to keep in mind to review the City of Houston's good faith efforts policy, and that link is provided. It'll give you all the details of what is considered acceptable good faith efforts. So this is a portion of, this concludes my presentation for pre-award. And at this time, do anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, so before I still have a few minutes. I just want to share some strategies and insights um, in regards to helping us successfully meet the compliance requirements on HCD projects. My objective is always to guarantee that from the initial stage that the selected developer, prime, or general contractor is in a position to be set up for success in meeting all of their compliance obligations. So I just want to emphasize to developers and contractors the significance of establishing an onboarding process right from the award phase when you're engaging your prime and or general contractor. It is also important for your prime and general contractor to implement their own onboarding procedures to ensure that all your subcontractors, suppliers, service providers, and others are fully informed of the expectations and the compliance requirements. So they say, is this documentation only required for construction projects? So this documentation is required for any projects that do not go to city council with a goal. So any project that don't go to city council with a goal, the developer or the prime contractor will be required to submit these pre-award documents. I'm not, you said, are there any items to be included from the permitting process prior to the notice to proceed? So it's up to you when you want to submit the pre-award documents. The pre-award documents are required before I can recommend you getting a notice to proceed. So if these pre-award documents are not submitted or not approved, then contract compliance will not recommend a notice to proceed or a pre-construction meeting. So you can't get a pre-construction meeting. I mean, you can't get a notice to proceed until we have a pre-construction meeting. And the pre-construction meeting will not be recommended until you can submit these pre-award documents. So as I was saying about the onboarding, you want to make sure that you organize and have a onboarding meetings. And during the onboarding meeting, you can distribute out the contract compliance form packet, the federal regulations. This will just help ensure that all of your subcontractors, your suppliers, your service providers complete the necessary documentation before work begins. Typically, when the project starts or gets started, that's our number one concern is with subcontractors or suppliers not being able to fulfill their compliance documentation throughout the duration. So, I do recommend that you have an onboarding meeting, you have those compliance form packets and federal regulations provided to everyone that'll be working on your project. That way you'll have them be able to complete it. They will fully understand what's expected. You'll be able to share with them, hey, this is what's going to be required. And then, that'll, properly prepare your subcontractors, suppliers, and service providers before they actually start work on the project. The contract to be utilized and reviewed will be a AIA. That's up to you. However you want to however you want to create your contract, it can be an AIA. We see different type of contracts. AIA is not a requirement. We don't require what type of contract that you use. I just require that before you execute a contract agreement, that you provide me a draft copy to ensure that it has the appropriate compliance language in regards to the MWSBE and Pay or Play program, and that it references and includes the standard required documents. So you are definitely able to utilize whatever contract agreement you choose. So this wraps up the pre-award services presentation. We appreciate your presentation in our pre-award services virtual technical assistance training to enhance your experience. We are gathering feedback on my presentation, so the survey link is available in the chat box. Following this presentation will be Felicia Burrell, which lead our MWSBE virtual technical assistance training, which will start at 9:30 a.m. Thank you, and I hope you find the next presentation to be enjoyable.
Welcome to the City of Houston MWSBE Technical Assistance Training for Contractors. I'm your presenter for today. My name is Felicia Burrell. At this time, I would like to ask everyone to mute your mics, and please type your questions in the chat box should you have any, and one of our MWSBE contract administrators will answer them. Also, I will appreciate everyone taking a moment to complete the survey at the end of this presentation. The link will be provided in the chat box. Our division leaders are Kanisha London, who is our Deputy Director, and Crystal Boyce is our Division Manager. The MWSBE contract administrators are Andres Magoza, Carolyn Seals, and myself, Felicia Burrell. You may direct your MWSBE compliance questions to any one of us. Our contact information will be provided in the chat box. Please note this presentation is being recorded for training purposes. Today, I will discuss the MWSBE requirements. This is an overview of the topics I will discuss today. MWSBE policy overview and certification benefits. MWSBE terms, B2G Now, Participation and Payment Tracker, our Document Submission Portal, LCP Tracker, Contract Agreements, Compliance Forms Packet, Deviation Requests, Contractor Performance, and Closeout Evaluation. There are many benefits to being certified with the City of Houston, such as having the advantage in the procurement selection process, networking event notices. Your company will be listed in the city's online directory. Being certified offers you the opportunity to bid on the City of Houston goal-oriented projects as well as other Texas certification agencies who accept the City of Houston's certifications. It is the policy of the City of Houston to strengthen minority, women-owned small business enterprises, otherwise known as MWSBE, participation during all phases of contract. The objective is to ensure local firms are afforded equal opportunities that promote utilization and eliminate discrimination. HCDD contracts must comply with federal procurement regulations, which mandates contracts to include all necessary affirmative steps to ensure minority, women-owned small business enterprises are utilized to maximum capacity. As a result, HCDD contracts must adhere to local and federal requirements as it relates to minority, women-owned small business enterprises. I would like to familiarize everyone with our commonly used MWSBE terms. The general contractor or prime contractor is responsible for the entire project, which in part includes communication with all firms and individuals working on the project, change orders, and subcontractor participation. Subcontractors are contracted by the prime contractor to perform specific of overall projects. Supplier provides a product. Lower tier subs are firms or individuals hired to receive work under another subcontractor. Your good faith efforts are demonstrated efforts used to meet the MWSBE goal requirements. MWSBE is an acronym for Minority Women-Owned Small Business Enterprise. Goal-oriented project is a competitively bid project with the MWSBE goal requirement. Start of work is often referred to as a SOW, and TOW is short for termination of work. Now we will review the post-award compliance requirements. After being awarded a goal-oriented project, compliance is achieved by meeting the goal requirements or by demonstrating acceptable good faith efforts. If you are unable to meet the required goal, for more information regarding good faith efforts in MWSBE certification process, visit the City of Houston's Office of Business Opportunity website page and search good faith efforts. Only firms certified through the Office of Business Opportunity program can be used for participation goals. For more information regarding the City of Houston's MWSBE certification process, visit the link highlighted in yellow on the screen. MBE and WBE goals are separate and must be individually met. In this example, the overall goal is 35%. The MBE goal is 25% and the WBE goal is 10%. Each goal must be attained individually. Following your pre-construction meeting, your assigned contract administrator will create the project profile and assign the prime contractor as the prime approver and LCP tracker. The prime contractor is responsible for adding all subcontractors and suppliers, certified and non-certified, to the project. For subcontractors to upload documents into LCP Tracker, they must be assigned to the project. The information required to set up the contractor assignment is located in the compliance cover sheet. To add a subcontractor after logging into LCP Tracker, click on click on the Setup tab, then click on Contractor Setup, click on Add, Edit Contractors, which will take you to the screen shown. Refer to your contractor cover sheet to enter the required information before saving. Ensure the firm is not already in our database and all company data has been entered correctly. To assign the contractors to the project, after logging in, click on the Setup tab, then click on Contractor Assignment, click Add New Assignment, select the project, and add contractor. Remember to save your information. This is how you will upload compliance documents into LCP Tracker. It is best to save your completed compliance documents to your computer, then go to the Setup tab and click on Add Edit Document, enter required fields, and upload the documents under the correct document type and description. Please be careful not to upload MWSBE forms as Section 3 forms and Section 3 forms as MWSBE forms. This is a visual example of how to upload documents. Select the eTab document located on the menu bar and then click Upload Documents. Next, you would choose your project's name, the subcontractor, document type, upload the document, and enter the correct document description. Always remember to press Save. Now let's discuss the LCP Tracker upload locations. This document is a reference for you to use when uploading required compliance documents. For MWSBE, we look for the contractor verification, MWSBE utilization plan and schedule, shared compliance forms, and the subcontractor agreement section. You want to ensure that you are uploading documents to the correct location because if not, the document will be rejected. This is your guide for document descriptions. Under the contractor verification section are our annual forms, SAM verification, debarred vendor list, and conflict of interest. Those descriptions must include the year for which you are submitting the form, so we will know which year the document is for. The forms under contract verification, MWSBE utilization plan / schedule, shared compliance forms, and subcontract agreements apply to MWSBE. Single-family home projects have their own guidance for descriptions and locations. All single-family documents must include the address. It is imperative that the house address is listed first and then the name of the document. For example, 2100 Travis, MWSBE UP, April 2025. Once again, you will want to ensure all documents are uploaded in the correct location and properly described. You can always refer to your MWSBE compliance packet for document descriptions and locations. B2G Now is our payment reporting and MWSBE participation tracker. After the project is awarded, there is a profile in B2G, which is used for payment and participation tracking of certified and non-certified firms. The prime is required to enter payments for every firm, certified or not, working on the project. For example, if there are 10 certified firms working on a project and 90 uncertified firms working, documents and payments for all 100 firms must be uploaded and submitted into B2G Now. Your assigned administrator is responsible for adding contractors into B2G now. Once the prime contractor receives payment from the city, they are required to enter subcontractors and supplier payments within 5 days. This is the automated compliance audit process. All emails are system generated. SAP populates payments made by the prime contractor. The prime is notified of the payment via email. Prime enters payment data for subs. Subcontractor is notified by email. Subcontractor confirms or rejects payment. Compliance audit is complete. If subcontractor rejects a payment, the subcontractor and prime are notified via email of the discrepancy. The prime is required to resolve discrepancies by providing proof of payment to their assigned contract administrator. On the screen are steps to access contracts in B2G now. Your first step is to log into B2G. Under Dashboard, you will click Contract, and the final step to assess a project is to click on View. All subs entered into B2G now on your project will be notified and given access to check and confirm their payments. The prime can report payments individually or all at once. For a large project, entering all the payments at one time may be more efficient. If payments are not confirmed, then the subcontractor will get a monthly system-generated email asking for payment confirmation. After the prime has entered payments, the subcontractor will be prompted to confirm payment. The sub will confirm if the payment is correct or not. If the payment is not correct, enter your reason in the comment section and press save. The prime and the contract administrator will be notified of the discrepancy. Please note it is the prime's responsibility to address payment discrepancies by providing check number, amount of, of the check, and the date the check cleared. Now we will discuss compliance forms packet. The prime contractor will receive the MWSBE compliance packet. The forms are to be utilized by both the certified and non-certified firms on the project. Share the MWSBE compliance packet with all your subcontractors working on the project. Annual documents are to be submitted once a year for the duration of the project. One-time initial forms are submitted once during the life of the project, and the only form that needs to be uploaded monthly is the MWSBE utilization plan. Only the prime contractor is required to submit the utilization schedule. The utilization schedule is a forecast of the utilization of certified firms only to meet the goal and a projection of the monies to be allocated for each month. A new utilization schedule must be submitted along with a deviation request and when responding to a not meeting the goal letter. Here's an example of a correct and incorrect compliance cover sheet. The compliance cover sheet on your right is unacceptable due to missing data. The project number is missing, as well as there is no indication of the type of contractor. We need to know with whom you are contracted with. Providing the NAICS code is a requirement. Other missing data is the EIN number, contract amount, owner's ethnicity, gender, and any certifications. The compliance cover sheet on the left is acceptable with all fields completed. The information on the compliance cover sheet is used by the contract administrator and the prime to enter the subcontractor into B2G Now and the LCP tracker. Therefore, it's extremely important to fill out this form completely and accurately. This form is to be uploaded under shared compliance forms and it is a one-time document. The request for prime contractor subcontractor clearance form must be completed by every firm working on the project. The date must reflect the same month and year of when the SAM verification search was conducted. The contractor clearance form and the SAM's verification are to be uploaded into LCP Tracker together. If if either document is uploaded separately, those documents will be rejected. SAM verification form is used to validate eligibility of a contractor to work on a federally funded project. The search must be conducted by full company's name, principal owner or owners, and the employer identification number, otherwise the EIN number. No contract should be executed with a prime contractor, subcontractor, or supplier until the eligibility has been verified. Remember, the SAM's verification and the contractor clearance form must be uploaded together, otherwise the forms will be rejected. To retrieve SAM verification, go to www.sam.gov and sign in. If you do not have an account, you must create one. After signing in, you will go to the header menu bar and click on search. To obtain your SAM's verification, select Entity Information, then click All Entity Information. Be sure to check the Any Words box and enter your company's name, EIN number, or principal names in the search box and press Enter. Each search must be done individually, then combine into one PDF. The SAM verification will generate many pages. However, we only need the first 3 or 4 pages of each search. Again, you will want to save all your SAM verification search with this contractor clearance form into one PDF document. All documents must be date stamped from the website, otherwise it will be rejected. Proof of non-debarment from the state comptroller's office must be provided for all contractors working on the project. This document must also be date stamped from the website. Please do not manually enter the date on these forms. If the document is not date stamped from the website, it will be rejected. Remember, the date you conduct your inquiry must also be the month and year you must upload your document into LCP Tracker. The DeBar vendor list will appear for you to print or save your document as a PDF. Step 3 is to click on the DeBar vendors list from the menu on the left-hand side of the screen. Uh, the DeBar vendor list will appear on the screen. Then you will press Control plus P to print or save your document and ensure that the date is on the list. Upload a copy of the DeBar vendor list into LCP Tracker under Annual Contractor Verification Document Type. Here are examples of non-acceptable and acceptable forms. The DeBar vendor list on the left is not acceptable because the form is not date stamped from the website. However, the form on the right is properly date stamped from the website. The DeBarge vendor list is to be uploaded under annual contractor verification. For conflict of interest disclosure, please ensure that every field is completed. Under disclosure, clearly indicate yes or no if there is a conflict or not. Under applicant signature, there must be a wet or electronically cursive signature with an execution date. Where it says program staff use only, please do not write below this line. Here are examples of correct and incorrect conflict of interest disclosures. All the required fields on the form on the right have not been completed and there is no signature or date. This form will be rejected. The conflict of interest form is an annual document. Every firm working on the project must complete a starter work notice. Please use the month, date, and year format on the starter work date on the starter work form. Upload this form in the share compliance form location. To be determined an estimated date and using just the month and year is not acceptable. The document will be rejected. The MWSB utilization plan is required monthly and is uploaded until the firm has terminated from the project. Prime contractors must include all subcontractors, certified and non-certified, on this form. Subcontractors must list their lower tier contractors on their utilization plan. Only list firms that worked on the project during the reference month. This is an example of a MWSBE utilization plan where the contractor is not self-performing, and another example of where the contractor is self-performing. If you are not self-performing, meaning that you are not doing 100% of the work, you must enter your lower tiers on this form. Remember to only list firms that worked on the project during the reporting month. The self-performing contractor, only the top of the form needs to be completed because the contractor did 100% of the work. Every firm working on the project must have a fully executed contract. For a contract to be valid, it must contain a scope of work, contract amount. The contract amount cannot be an estimate. MWSBE mediation arbitration clause, signatures by both parties, and execution dates. For single-family projects, the contract must include the home addresses. The mediation clause is an effort to resolve discrepancies between the prime and the subcontractors. Mediation can be initiated by either party or the Housing and Community Development Department. The MWSVE mediation clause can be included into the contract or attached to the contract. If the MWSBE mediation clause cannot be identified in the contract or purchase order, it will be considered non-compliant and rejected. The termination of work notice informs us that we no longer need to monitor that subcontractor if all items are compliant. If the termination of work is not received, the subcontractor will continue to receive notices from B2G Now. This document is uploaded under Share Compliance Document. Work on hold notices only apply to DBRA. However, monthly compliance documents are required regardless of the work on hold status. Compliance documentation is required until termination of work form has been submitted. For the single-family home projects, a fully executed contract with the MWSBE mediation clause, contract cover sheet, utilization plan, start of work notice, and termination of work notice must be submitted for every address on the project. The one-time documents and annual forms are submitted like any other project. The prime contractor is responsible for all compliance documents uploaded in LCP Tracker for their project. I would suggest the prime compliance team to review your subcontractor's documentation before it's uploaded into LCP Tracker. Rejected documents will be included on the CSR. This is an example of the single-family subcontractor requirements. For single-family projects, for every separate address, you must submit the compliance cover sheet, start of work, utilization plans, contract or purchase order agreement, and the termination of work. Your single-family annual documents are provided once during the project. Our next topic is deviation requests. A deviation request is used to remove or add MWSBEs on the project, and that will impact the participation goal. The prime cannot remove a MWSBE contractor without submitting a deviation request. Notify your contract administrator and he or she will assist with the process. I recommend deviation requests is submitted for every MWSBE working on the project. This will help your projected goal. More gold credit is better than not enough. The certified firm cannot be replaced with a non-certified firm. If an MBE is being removed, it must be replaced with another MBE. For a list of certified firms, refer to the City of Houston Office of Business Opportunities website. Ongoing monitoring. Ongoing monitoring consists of the following. Random site visits are conducted monthly. At the project's work site, the MWSBE compliance administrator will take a photo of the sign-in sheet to identify any SBEs working on site during this visit. A brief interview may be conducted with one of the MWSBE workers regarding their scope of work. If there are companies listed on the sign-in sheet but not in LCP Tracker and/or B2G, we will seek documentation to have them added. Compliance status reports are sent within the first 5 business days or of every month. Submitted compliance documents uploaded in LCP Tracker are reviewed for accuracy and non-compliance items are noted in red. We recommend that the prime contractor or the compliance consultant review all documents from the subcontractors before uploading into LCP Tracker. It is your project and you want to ensure the correct documentation is completed and uploaded correctly. This is an example of our monthly compliance status report, also referred to as CSR. Anything noted in red is non-compliant, incomplete, or past due. If a subcontractor's name is highlighted in yellow, that indicates that the firm has not yet been added to B2G. The contract compliance cover sheet and start of work form are required to add a firm into B2G. Any row that is highlighted in light gray is an indication that the company has not started work. In the far right column of the CSR are comments regarding the non-compliant items. If the comment is completed, no other documents are required. The firm is compliant. It is very important that the prime communicates with everyone working on the project. Share your contract compliance packet with your subcontractors and lower tiers so they will know the program's requirements to keep the project in compliance. The commercially useful function audit, otherwise known as CUF, is to ensure that the MWSBE is self-performing in the NACE code of their certification using their own resources. A brief interview will be conducted on-site with a random worker. We are checking to see if the firm is using their own equipment, tools, and materials. Professional service contractors working on the project are emailed a list of questions regarding the scope of services. All right, let's talk about contractor performance. Here are a list of compliance red flags. Failing to meet MWBE goals, requirements, and not demonstrating acceptable good faith efforts. Not submitting all required compliance documentation, submitting inaccurate compliance documents for your subcontractors and suppliers, not completing monthly payment audits for B2G, failure to submit a deviation request to remove gold credit firms, not complying with the program rules. Failing to comply with the rules of the program can be a reason for the prime contractor's payments to be withheld, termination of contract, or suspension or debarment. If contractors fail to comply with the program requirements, the compliance monitor may recommend withholding of payment draws. If a contractor fails to comply with the terms of the contract documents, HCDD may temporarily suspend or terminate the contract at any time. Upon termination, HCDD may also include contractor or contractors on nationwide debar and suspension lists of contractors. Now I will discuss the project's closeout and evaluation. It is at this stage that the City of Houston determines if the prime will receive more invitation on bids with other city projects. A project is pending closeout when all firms working on the project have submitted their termination of work notices. The final payment in B2G now is marked as final, and the retainage payments must be entered into B2G. This project is not closed until all, the project is not closed until all payments are reported and confirmed and there are no payment discrepancies. A closeout evaluation consists of evaluating the prime contractor MWSBE goal and their compliance with program requirements. Additionally, the subcontractor's performance may impact the prime contractor's evaluation ratings. As previously mentioned, it is the prime's responsibility to ensure all compliance documents are correctly uploaded and all contractor payments have been confirmed. Listed are some resources that you may find helpful. This concludes the MWSBE portion of technical training assistance. I would like to thank everyone for joining today. Please remember to complete the survey in the chat. Our next presenter will be LaQuinta Jones with Pay or Play at 10:30.
Hello and good morning. Welcome to the Pay Your Play presentation for technical assistance. My name is LaQuinta Jones, and I'm the POP Administrative Coordinator for the City of Houston Housing Community Development Department. Today, I will be discussing the Pay Your Play requirements for both current and future projects. Before we begin, please take note of a few housekeeping rules. This presentation is being recorded for training purposes. Please remain on mute throughout the presentation. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat box and I will address them at the end of the presentation. We do value your feedback and would appreciate if you could complete the survey link that will be placed in the chat box. Your input helps us improve our presentation and provide a better experience for you. If you did not register for this training, please enter your contact information in the chat box so that we can send you a copy of the presentation later. The presentation will be available at a later date on a Housing Community Development website. Kanisha London serves as our Deputy Director for the Compliance and Grants Administration Division. Crystal Boyce is a Division Manager for Contract Compliance. Crystal oversees pre-awards and leads a team of professionals responsible for administering affordable rental housing compliance in the MWSBE, which is the Minority Women-Owned Small Business Enterprise and Pay Your Play programs. Lakeisha Tates is the Administrator Manager for pre-awards and the Pay Your Play program. Leslie Joseph and myself are the Pay Your Play Administrative Coordinators who oversee contracts for POP compliance on all housing community development projects in compliance with its Executive Order 1-7. If you have any questions or concerns about POP compliance requirements and we are not available, please contact our supervisor, Lakeisha Tates, and our contact information can be found in the chat box. Okay, so during this presentation, we will be discussing the following topics: the Pay Your Play program definitions, the Pay Your Play program requirements, Pay Your Play submissions in B2G, the final POP compliance review, Pay Your Play FAQ, which are frequently asked questions, and additional resources. The City of Houston's Pay Your Play program was established to level the playing field during the bid process for vendors, as the cost for providing insurance or failure to provide insurance to employees may influence bidders for the City of Houston's work. Furthermore, the Pay Your Play program aims to offset the cost of caring for Houston and Harris County uninsured residents. The Pay Your Play program requires city contracts to either contribute a prescribed amount to the contract responsibility fund for uninsured employees or provide a minimum health care coverage for their employees. For additional information, please see Executive Order 1-7. At this time, we will be reviewing the definitions for the Pay Your Play program. Pay Your Play is applicable to contracts with a value of $100,000 or more for prime contractors and $200,000 or more for subcontractors. This includes professional services, construction, service type agreements, along with on-call, work order, or job solicitations. If a subcontractor's contract was originally below $200,000 threshold, but later meets or exceeds this amount during the contract tenure, whether or not the contract was through an adjustment or payment received, then that subcontractor will then be subject to Pay Your Play requirements. And then for additional information, please see Executive Order 1-7. The Pay Your Play program does not apply to the following: contracts where 51% or more of the primary purpose is for procurement or purchasing of property, leases, goods, supplies, or equipment; intergovernmental contracts, interlocal agreements, or bulk purchasing; contracts for which the City of Houston has not expended funds, regardless of the funding source; contracts with an approved POP 4 exemption form from OBO that meets the criteria of the Executive Order 1-7 prior to the contract award approval; contractors using self-employed owner-operated individuals for services such as truck driving, day labor, or 1099 independent contractors. Contractors who do utilize independent contractors are required to submit a signed notarized letter on their official company letterhead that includes the contract name, the contract number, A certification stating the employment status of the individual working on the project, including their first and last name, confirming that they are independent 1099 contractor and not a W-2 worker, and the date they start working as an independent contractor on the project. Additionally, we are requesting for additional information to verify that they are registered as a 1099 independent contractor. And you are also required to provide an SS-8 form or W-9 form with this letter. Once you will send this information into your POP administrative coordinator for review and must be approved by OBO. Once the 1099 independent contractor notarized letter is approved by OBO, it remains valid for the full duration of the contract. Resubmission of this letter is not required. Okay, now we're going to cover the pay or play covered employees. So pay and play covered employees include all employees of a covered contractor or subcontractor, whether they're working on site or in the office, including your 1099 independent contractors and any personnel that may be classified as being exempt. An individual that's over the age of 18, an employee who works at least 30 hours per week with any amount of time on the City of Houston covered contract or subcontract. Additionally, any Section 3 employees, all Section 3 employees on DR-17 projects must also be offered POP benefits as well. So now we're going to jump into what are the required documents for pay or play. Before the construction meeting, the pre-construction meeting, the prime contractor is required to submit the POP 1 through 3 forms. Additionally, all POP applicable contracts and subcontractors that meet POP requirements are required to submit the provided and necessary POP compliance documents. The POP 1 form is required from both the prime and the subcontractor, which is a POP acknowledgement form acknowledging that you agree and are aware of the compliance requirements for the POP program. The POP 2 form is a certification of compliance. This form is the form that contractors will utilize to choose whether they're going to participate in the program as pay, play, or both. The prime contractor plus subcontractors who have lower tier subs or meet the $200,000 threshold are required to submit the POP 3 form, which lists all of your subcontractors on the project, whether they are certified or not. All POP applicable contracts must complete a B2G not access form. This will allow us to know who will be responsible for administering your POP submissions in B2G now, because all users are required to utilize their own login credentials. Contractors will be given access to LCP Tracker, which is the storage database for these documents, following any pre-construction meeting, and will be responsible for uploading their POP documents in the POP document category file. Please note, a new POP 3 form must be submitted each time a new subcontractor is added to the project if the prime did not previously add them on their original POP 3 form. And for subcontractors who meet or exceed the $200,000 threshold, you also are required to submit those POP 3 forms for your lower tiers as well. Contractors are required to begin complying with the POP program within 30 days of your start of work date or notice. This is an example of how the POP 2 requirement form looks for both the prime and the sub. We do ask in this middle section where you take note to verify whether or not you meet the requirements to participate as a PLAY play participant. If not, and you have to opt to choose pay, you would select the box that states pay, play, or you can also opt to participate as both. In the lower section here, we do ask for you to fill in the estimated amount of employees that you estimate will be working on the project. Okay, now we're going to discuss the POP program requirements. For pay elect contractors, they will comply by paying or contributing $1 per hour for each hour worked performed for a covered employee on the POP applicable project, not to exceed 40 hours per week. You must list all active and covered employees, including ZIP employees, under the workforce employee list in B2G, and enter their weekly audits each week in B2G for that covered employee. Contractors must provide both the total hours for the contractor and the individual hours on the project for each covered employee. If both columns are not completed, your workforce audit will be rejected. Entering the hours for each employee that works on the project will go as follows. The total hours equal the number of hours that the employee works for the contractor for that week, for that contractor's company for that week. The hours worked are the total number of hours the employee actually worked on that specific City of Houston project. We are aware that subcontractors do utilize some employees for multiple projects. So if they worked a total of 40 hours a week for your company, but they only worked 10 hours a week on the City of Houston project, the first column for total hours will state 40. The second column that says hours worked would state 10. Invoices are created monthly from the weekly workforce audit reports. Payments are made through a payments system and will not accept partial payments. Invoices are required to be paid in full. The Housing and Community Development Department may request for certified payroll or timesheets for each employee to verify their hours recorded in B2G for paid employees. Here's the pay requirement explanation for the POP program. Number one, John is a covered employee who is not offered POP benefits. The employer must submit pay weekly submissions by entering John's total hours and hours worked into B2G under the workforce audit list every week. Number two, John is a covered employee and has insurance through his spouse. The employer should or may submit a completed and notarized POP 8 form with proof of healthcare insurance for John via email to the POP administrative coordinator for review and approval. Number three, John is a covered employee and accepts POP benefits offered to him. John, in this case, would be considered a PLAY employee, and PLAY employees are not required to submit hours into the system, and he's not a paid employee. This is a glimpse of what you will see in B2G when you're entering hours for your employees for pay. We will go over this later in detail in the presentation. Now we're going to discuss a POP 8 employee waiver request. A contractor can request for an exemption for an employee from the POP program by emailing the POP administrative coordinator a completed and notarized POP 8 waiver form for review and approval if the employee meets one of the following standards. If they are under the age of 18, if they have healthcare insurance through another source, such as a parent, spouse, Medicaid, or Medicare. However, they will be required to provide proof, such as the front and back copy of the healthcare insurance card with a valid date, or if they choose to deny coverage for any other reason, which is stated, should be stated on the form. Please note that once they fill out this form, the POP 8 form should be completed in their own handwriting. Approved POP 8 waiver forms remain valid for 1 year from the approval dates. However, they must resubmit this form annually each year that your contract continues to be performing work for the City of Houston. Here's an example of the POP 8 exemption waiver form. Again, employees who qualify for exemption must complete this form. In the section that states employee affidavit, this area must be signed and dated by the employee. If an employee is denied coverage, which is the fourth box on this line here, they must provide a valid, clear, reasonable explanation as to why they are declining coverage. Simply writing no or I decline without an explanation will result in the form being rejected. Additionally, if your employee denies coverage, they must list the financial contribution amount that they would have been offered as a single employee in the section designated. If the insurance is accepted, as well as financial contribution that the employer would have to pay for a single covered employee. Again, all POP forms must include the original signature and date. Typed signatures or dates will be rejected unless completed using a DocuSign, which can verify signature. Forms amended or completed on behalf of another person will also be rejected. Ensure that all employees have correctly completed the POP 8 form before emailing it to the POP administrator for review and approval. Once this form is reviewed, it will be sent back to you. Once the form is reviewed and approved, it will be sent back to you for you to upload into LCP Tracker. We also have the POP 9 form for self-insured contractors. This form is only available to contractors upon request. Contractors may request for the POP 9 self-insured contractor form to be emailed to them if the employer is using their own money to cover their employees' claims. The POP 9 self-insured contractor and all required documents must be emailed to the POP administrative coordinator for review and approval. Contractors awarded self-insured status will be classified Testing. I want to apologize. It's raining and it caused technical issues with my system. Are you able to see my screen now?
No.
You said no, Andres? Okay.
We can still hear you, but we're just still having issues with the presentation. So, but we can hear you. Well, I can.
Okay. So with the I'm going to start with the play healthcare requirements for the POP program. So for the play healthcare requirements, contractors who elect to participate as a play contractor, PLAY, they must provide documentation proof of healthcare insurance that meets the POP requirements. The healthcare benefits must meet or exceed the following standards and must be submitted in the B2G Now system. The employer will contribute no less than 75% of the total premium cost per covered employee per month for a single employee, and the employee contribution, if any amount, will be no greater than 25% of the monthly premium costs. Housing Community Development can request for an eligibility verification form to be completed with a copy of your pre-printed health benefit program or employee benefit package to verify that you meet those requirements. Please note that Housing and Community Development does not accept healthcare insurance cards as proof of healthcare insurance for quarterly audits. What is not required as a PLAY contractor or subcontractor, you are not required to enter the hours worked for your employees. Please see the POP frequently asked questions for more information. The PLAY quarterly workforce audit submissions are due on a quarterly basis in B2G Now. The first quarter months, which is January through March, are due by April 1st. The second quarterly audits, April through June, are due by July 1st. The third quarter audits, July through September, are due by October 1st. And the fourth quarter audits, October through December, are due by January of the following year. PLAY quarterly audit submissions. Contractors who participate as PLAY will complete a quarterly workforce audit by verifying that all covered and active employees who are working on the contract are listed on their workforce employee list in B2G, whether they're working on site or in the office. You will upload a completed POP7 form that lists the names of the active employees that you also have listed in B2G. The POP7 form must be accompanied by supporting documents such as your insurance summary and invoices. That includes the name of those employees and the cost of coverage for the 3 months during each quarter reporting period. All documents, again, must be uploaded in B2G to be considered as complete. We cannot verify or approve PLAY quarterly audit submissions through email. So if you email us the information, we're going to notify you that you're going to have to upload the information into B2G. Again, we do not accept healthcare insurance cards as proof of healthcare coverage for quarterly submissions. This is a sample of how the screen looks for PLAY quarterly submissions in B2G. Here's an example of the quarterly PLAY POP7 form utilized for healthcare coverage information. This form must be uploaded into B2G along with the company's healthcare invoices that detail the cost of coverage for each PLAY employee. You must fill in the top portion of the form with your organization information. One moment, please. I do apologize. The rain again is interfering with my system. If you see the bottom of the screen and it says live, link to live presentation, please do not click that. Please do not try to move forward or backward because that could be the reason also why the screen is not navigating properly.
Live thing, and it's freezing the screen. That's what happened to mine.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, are you able to see my slides?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so this is an example of how the pay or play submission page looks in B2G. Again, please do not try to attempt to move forward or backwards in the slide because I believe that's what froze up my slide previously. And I do apologize again for the technical difficulties. Here's an example of the quarterly play POP7 form that is used to report the healthcare information in B2G. This form, along with your proof of healthcare insurance, including invoices and healthcare summaries, are required. You must fill in the top portion with your information about your organization. We do not require for you to submit your group or payer ID. However, all areas at the top must be completed. In the lower section, we do ask for you to list all of your active and covered employees for both inside the office and on site who are working on the City of Houston project. Again, you do not need to include the healthcare insurance ID number. If you do have a new employee that started during the middle of a quarter, we do ask for you to check the new employee box. Please include the monthly premium amount for both the employer and the employee, as well as the benefit year from the beginning and end. If for any reason you're utilizing employees that are union members, please contact us so we can notify you of the requirements of how to submit that information. Now we're going to go over the POP submissions in B2G. B2G now is the management system for all POP workforce audit submissions. The POP7 forms and the supporting documents for play quarterly submissions and the pay weekly workforce audits are required to be submitted in B2G now for review and approval through the workforce utilization module. After the weekly workforce audits are received and approved for the entire month by the POP administrator, we will generate and distribute an invoice to the contractor or subcontractor. You will then utilize the Paymentus payment portal in B2G Now to pay your POP invoices. Partial payments for POP invoices are not accepted. Invoices must be paid in full. Below is a link to the B2G Now database. We did transition to Paymentus in the last year. We have recently started having technical difficulties with that system. So we do have a different link if you're not able to make your payments through the B2G Now database, and we are able to email you that information if needed. So now we're going to go over the B2G Now overview, such as viewing the POP contract in B2G, adding employees to B2G, assigning employees to the contract, submitting weekly workforce audits for pay employees, filling in the weekly workforce audits, saving and certifying those audits, submitting quarterly workforce audits for PLAY, which is the quarterly audits, and uploading and attaching documents for the audits. For additional information, you can also see the frequently asked questions. When you first log into the B2G Now database, you will be brought to the home screen or the main screen on your dashboard. To view your City of Houston POP contract, go to the dashboard and you will select the word contract on the tab. You actually on the left-hand side. Alternatively, you can also see your contract here at the top, and it will tell you the total number of contracts that you have. Once you select the contract page, the contract tab, you will be taken to the contract page. On the contract page, you will see the view button next to your contracts. On here, that's just showing one contract, but if you have multiple, it will list all the contracts that you have with the city. You will simply select the view tab next to the contract in which you would like to submit your audits. After clicking the view button for the relevant contract, you will be taken to the contract management screen. There will be several tabs at the top with 4 dedicated to the Pay or Play program. All employees who will be working on the contract must be entered into B2G Now before you're able to submit your workforce audits. To do this, you will go to the Workforce Employee List tab at the top of the screen. Once you're on that page, you will select the Manage Employees tab. This is also the tab that you would go to if you need to examine, update, or add new employees to the POP contract. Once you select the Manage Employee tab, you will then be taken to that page. At the top, you will click Add Employee. Remember to include all of your workers on the POP project in your Workforce Employee list, including office staff, supervisors, project managers, and on-site supervisors. To ensure compliance and consistency on workforce audits, all B2G users must utilize their own login credentials when completing POP workforce audit to prevent unauthorized access. Again, once you click the Add Employee button, you will be directed to the Edit Employee page. Here you will go and add your employees that are working on the project. You will fill in the sections marked with the asterisks. You are not required to complete any other section. However, we would like to know the position of the employee, so that does not have an asterisk, but we do request for you to fill that in as well. It is critical that all employees working on housing community development projects use their legal government names, first and last, which should match the names that's in your payroll system, including LCP Tracker and B2G and any sign-in sheets. This practice helps us avoid using nicknames. After you enter your employees' names and select yes, you will select yes if they are active employee on the project. Once you've completed, you would click the Save button to store the information. Alternatively, if you need to add another employee, you would click Save and New, and it will go back to the screen to allow you to add another employee. Once you have added your last employee, you will click Save and Return and go back to the employee list. So after you have added all of your employees to the workforce employee list, the employee list, you will now need to assign them to your contract by clicking the Assign Employee Contract button. If an employee is missing from this list, you will simply click the Add Employee button to add them to the workforce employee list, which were in the previous steps. Once you click the Add Assign Employee to Contract button, it will redirect you to the information page. On this page, you will have a drop down. So this first line is actually a drop down, but you're not able to see that in the slide. So once you select that, you will select each employee that you're going to designate as a specific craft. So if you have multiple employees that are going to be selected as paid, play, or exempt, then you can select that at that time. Under this, you can select them at this time. And then go to the craft tab, which is also a drop down that allows you to select paid, play, or exempt. Once you've done that, you will enter your start date. The start date is not the date of the actual project, but the date that you start working on the project. So on your start of work notice, that should show your start of work date for the project. You will then mark those employees as active. If you have any relevant notes, you can make those comments in the comment section. Once you've completed that, you will select the Save button, and you have now added those employees to the workforce employee list. Now we're going to discuss the pay workforce audit submissions. To submit your POP workforce audits, one of the 4 tabs at the top will state Workforce Audit List. This is the tab that you will select to go to the actual list. Next to the week that you want to submit your weekly workforce audit, you will select the View tab. If the View tab is not available, please click the Add Audit button in the middle column, and this will allow you to add your audit for that week. Once you've done that, the screen will refresh, and then you will then be allowed to view the View button on the left-hand side. Pay vendors will be required again to submit their weekly workforce audit throughout the project. As mentioned in training, pay vendors do not offer healthcare insurance that meet the POP requirements will be required to do so. Once you're on this page, if you see the red line with the word incomplete, this means you have not submitted your workforce audit for that week. Again, to add that audit, you simply add the audit by clicking the View button on the left-hand side. Once you click the Review button, it will redirect you to the workforce audit itself for that week. There are a few options at the top which are available, which is Fill in Audit, and there's another one that says No Work for that week. The employees will be listed visible on the project. However, they will be listed in gray if this is your first time submitting an audit, or if you've added a new employee, they will be grayed out. To add them to the audit, you would simply select the Add Audit underneath their on the right-hand side with the blue hyperlink. Once you've done that, you will select Fill in the Audit. Here is where you will enter your pay and your weekly workforce audit. Pay vendors should actually select, at the top, it has the payroll week. So we do ask you to enter in your payroll week as well. Pay vendors should enter in the total hours, again, which are the number of hours the employee actually worked for your company for that week, and the hours worked in the second column, which are the number of hours that they worked on this particular or your particular project. If for any reason you have a work on hold notice or you did not perform work that week, then you would simply check the No Work box at the top. At the bottom, you can make comments as to why you did not work that week, or if you had an office staff personnel that did not work that week and someone else worked in their place, you would just simply state in that box that that person did not work that week. Once you've entered that information, you will select the lower button that will take you to the next page. During the closeout phase of your project, if this is your final week of working on the project, once you've completed your final weekly workforce audit, you will select the final box at the top, as this is a special status before kicking review. This notifies your POP administrative coordinator that your organization has completed their work on the project. After clicking the Review tab, you'll be taken to the Review Audit page. If you need to return later, you would simply click the Save and Certify Later. If you're ready to proceed, you would click the Save and Certify button. You can also use the Edit button if you need to make any changes prior to submitting your audit. The next page that you'll come to will be the certification page. This is where you will enter in your name, certifying that you have completed, you're the person that completed the audit. It also includes your title, and it'll also include the date that the audit was certified. Once you've hit review, you will then be able to submit your audit by selecting the certification box and clicking certify and release to the organization now. And that will notify us that your audit for that week is complete. Now let's discuss the play submissions. Once you've logged into B2G, again, you will select the Workforce Employee List tab at the top of the screen. This is where you will submit your play quarterly audit submissions. You will then see all of your active and exempt employees that appear on the project, along with your pay employees. At the bottom of the screen, you will select the Manage Craft Review button. Once you select this button, it will open up another window. This screen will only display your play and exempt employees for the quarter that you're reporting. Please make sure that on the left-hand side that you uncheck your employees that are marked as exempt. If they've already been approved, if you keep them selected at that time, you will also be uploading information to them that is not required, and you will cause their approval status to go back to pending. So that means it'll kick out their approval status. So if they've been approved for the entire year as exempt for a 1099 person or POP 8 exempt personnel, you will kick out their approval status. So make sure you verify that information. On this screen, this is where you would upload your play quarterly audit submissions. So you would choose the choose file button in the middle of the screen. And once you do that, it will open up a box allowing you to upload your documents. We do request that you upload all of your information in bulk. So as you can see, I have multiple items grayed out because I want to upload those 2 documents. So once you've clicked those documents, of course, you would select the open button, and that would allow those documents to be uploaded to your audit. You will then see where there have been 2 files uploaded. If you do not see the number of files that you want to upload to this audit, then you need to choose that again and make sure you have selected all of those audits. We do ask for you to make comments in the box to let us know which quarterly audit that you're submitting, because there are occasions where you may have had to make corrections to a previous audit or add a new employee. So we're not aware of that if you don't make those notes in the system. Also, if you have any new employees, it would be great if you could note those employees' name and start date in the box. So that way we'll know that those employees may not appear on the very first invoice, but may show up on the following invoices. Once you've made those notes, we ask you to check the box to certify the information, and then you will select the lower button at the bottom to save. Once you've selected that button, at the top of the screen, a box will appear and it will ask you, are you sure you want to save and update the selected record? You will select OK. The following screen will have a green box that says the selected craft review has been updated successfully. To exit this, you will click the X next to the double X arrow at the top, the very top X. Now, once you select that button, a confirmation box will appear asking, are you sure you want to close out without saving? But because you've already received confirmation that your information was successfully saved on the previous screen, you will select OK. Once you've done that, this is the page that we will see in B2G now when we're reviewing your audits. So as you can see, it has both the documents that were attached. And here at the bottom, it has the information on what was entered or what documents, how many times it was uploaded. And your vendor notes are at the bottom. Every month by the 5th business day, a compliance status report, also known as a CSR, is submitted to the prime contractor. This is to notify the prime contractor of non-compliant, pending, or compliant items on the project. We do require that the prime contractor provide us a copy of their CSR with their notes and comments once they've completed the non-compliance items that have been resolved. We're going to go over a few of the items on the CSR report. This column here is the ledger that notifies you of what documents or what issues have been resolved or required to complete on the project. The check notifies you that everything is compliant. The X means that there is something that is missing, and we're advising you to see below for the comments. We also have the box that says PD, P/D, which is for past due invoices, and so on. This box here is the directions on how to upload your play submissions. And it also has the quarterly submission requirements. This box here notifies you of the requirements to submit for your pay audits. This first section, the first line is for the prime contractor, and the lower ones are for the subcontractors. We put in the start of work date, what your pop election is, and we would put an X in the boxes where the documents are needed. So in the first case, on this first line, the prime contractor is missing their B2G Now access form. Under the Pop 8, Pop 9 column, it states that an employee has an expired Pop 8 form coming up. They are out of compliance because they have an X here. And over here, it's stating that they need to submit their B2G Now access form into LCP Tracker, and they need to submit their Play quarterly audit submission for the first quarter. So these items must be resolved. Also, it states that there was some type of work on hold notice during that period as well. The first subcontractor on the line below is grayed out because they have not started work on the project yet. So that's why it says TBD in those boxes, because we don't have that information because they have not started yet. The second subcontractor, as you can see, has no red. That means that they are in full compliance. The third contractor is missing their weekly workforce audits. So this is a PAY contractor. They're missing their workforce audits for a particular time period, and they have open invoices. The black writing that says OI with the invoice number means that's an open invoice. When it says P/D and the invoice number, that means that invoice is past due. The subcontractor on the very last line is in green, and as you can see, they have a start date and an end date. So once that subcontractor has completed work on the project, they will be notified, and you will be notified with the green coloring on them to let you know that they have been marked as being full compliant. To prevent any miscommunication or misunderstanding, we do request that contractors or subcontractors contact your POP administrative coordinator directly for any POP-related inquiries. This includes rejected workforce audits that need to be reopened, addressing concerns regarding submission of documents, and providing us with payment confirmations. To avoid delays in payment draws, we ask that you resolve the outstanding compliance issues noted as soon as possible to bring your contract into compliance with POP. If a payment draw request has already been submitted at the time and your contract is not in compliance, it will be held for all outstanding compliance issues that are not resolved. So if the prime contractor is in full compliance, but they have several subcontractors that are not in compliance, your payment will be held. Now we're going to discuss the final POP compliance review. For the final POP compliance review, we must ensure that the contract is in full compliance. This means that all POP applicable project contract forms must be uploaded into the system, such as your B2G Now access form, POP 1, 2, and 3. All this information must be uploaded into LCP Tracker under the POP documents category. Any approved forms, such as POP 8, POP 9, or notarized 1099 letters, if applicable, must also be uploaded in the same place. Notices to ensure that all contractors have started work and terminated work, those forms must be uploaded as well, which would be your start of work notice, termination of work notice, and any work on hold notices. Those documents will be uploaded under the shared compliance category. Your Play quarterly workforce audits must all be submitted for the covered period from your start of work date to the termination of work date on your project. Your Pay weekly workforce audit submissions for your pay contractors, they are required to make sure all of their audits are in as well. So once the Pay weekly workforce audits are submitted for each month, the invoice will generate. All invoices must be paid in full by all pay contractors that perform work on the project. Any additional documents as clarification purposes related to the contract, such as letter of explanation, check stub, or notarized statements, those documents must be uploaded to LCP Tracker as well. Failure to meet these proper requirements and provide the necessary documents will result in the retainage payment being withheld until the contract achieves full compliance with POP regulations. Okay, now we're going to get into some frequently asked questions for Pay or Play. Question number 1, are only employees working on the job site required to be listed on the workforce audit employee list? No, all employees working on the City of Houston contract, whether on site or in the office, are required to be listed under the workforce audit employee list and accounted for during each audit. Number 2, my employee has his or her own insurance and my company does not pay for it. Does this mean he or she must submit a notarized POP 8 form for exemption? Yes, you must submit a completed and notarized POP 8 form along with proof of their healthcare insurance. This is the only time we will obtain a copy of the healthcare insurance card. You'll email this information to the POP administrator for review and approval. Number 3, I'm a subcontractor on a City of Houston contract and my contract ended before the prime finishes the job. Do I still have to submit POP submissions? No. Please make sure you upload your termination of work notice into LCP Tracker. And then mark your audit as final during the B2G in the B2G Now database for the final work audit week. Number 4, are subcontractors required to comply with POP program if they are not MWSBE or Section 3? Yes, all subcontractors with professional services, construction, or general services contracts whose contract meet or exceed the 200,000 threshold are required to comply with POP requirements. Do any of the POP workforce invoice payment benefit my company? Unfortunately, they do not. The payments are deposited into the contract responsibility fund, which shall not be used for any other purpose except to assist the providing healthcare services for uninsured individuals working on projects. For more information, you can go to the OBO, which is the Office of Business Opportunities website, to view that information. So here are a few additional resources. If you have any questions or like to request a copy of the frequently asked questions, you can send an email to your POP liaison and request for that information. The frequently asked questions answers a few questions such as where should my POP 1, 2, and 3 forms be submitted, how to submit POP 8 forms, how do I submit my play submissions, how to submit my pay submissions, and how can I pay my workforce invoices. This concludes the Pay or Play program presentation. Are there any questions in the chat box that need to be addressed? And again, I do apologize for the technical issues that occurred earlier. If there are no questions, we want to thank you for participating in the Contract Compliance Technical Assistance Training. We hope you found both useful and enlightening information. Our main goal was to enhance your understanding of relevant program regulations and standards, and to provide you with the resources and guidance you need to maintain 100% compliance on all housing community development projects. The training covered many topics that were discussed, and our presenters did an excellent job with sharing the expertise. If you have any questions, please refer to the contact information in the chat box. We also appreciate your valuable feedback. Please help us with future presentations for our technical assistance training by completing the survey in the chat box. We will review each survey and ensure future trainings are even more successful. Best of luck to you on your housing community development projects. If you need assistance or having questions, please please contact me. Again, my information is in the chat box. Thank you again for participating in this training. Please encourage future contractors, vendors, subcontractors, suppliers, service providers, and compliance consultants working on all projects for housing community development to attend future trainings. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to working with you on your housing community development projects. Best of luck. Have a great day.